Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 26 of the Spring Snowflake podcast. My name is Sophie. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Sophie Swan. There's also an Instagram profile for this podcast, which is Spring Snowflake. There is a Ravelry group for the podcast, which has different threads on it for giveaways, make-alongs. It's quite small, but it's perfectly formed, and there's been some lovely chatter in there recently. Thank you very much for everyone who's come and joined in with us. If you wanted to support the podcast, you can do it in one of two ways. We have a Patreon community, which is small but perfectly formed. We just had a couple of people join us, which has been epic. Thank you so much. And on there, I'm having a bit of a rejig of the Patreon site at the moment, basically due to lockdown. So it is currently the end of April, beginning of May. I'm filming this on the 30th of April, but it won't go up until the beginning of May. And I am currently full-time at home with my 4-year-old. She turned 4 just over 2 weeks ago. And my husband is working from home. He always has worked from home. So his job hasn't changed in kind of the way he normally works, but he would be going into London quite a few times a week, or at least quite a few times a month. So that's stopped. So we are all in our house. I would say that I am one of the luckier ones in this pandemic, in the fact that I have a roof over my head, we've got space to move, we have outside space, and really we're still comfortable. So for all of those who are suffering, all those who are working, for my lovely key worker friends, and people who I don't know but are key workers, big love to all of you guys. You are doing sterling work, and I am pretty livid of how our government has sleepwalked into this. For those of you who don't know, I am in the UK, in South Oxfordshire. My local hospital is the John Radcliffe in Oxford, and I have a few friends who work there who literally have not been looked after. It's absolutely atrocious how this government is kind of getting away with a PR machine to make people think that they've handled this well. They haven't. But this is not a political podcast, it's a yarn podcast, so that's all I'm going to say on the matter. I hope that however you are during this pandemic, whatever situation you're in, that podcasters like me can bring a little bit of diversion and joy and general amusement to you while we're all locked down. My friends in other countries, I know your governments are dealing with this in slightly different ways. I hope that you are keeping safe as well, staying inside, washing your hands, not touching your face. All the things that we've been told to do to help protect us and to help protect others. With that said, you can support us on Patreon. Patreon is being slightly rejigged. I am not doing the normal vlog for my patrons at the moment, but they will get an extra video every month. It might be that it's just to sit down and chat with me, or it might be a collection or something like that. We're jazzing it up a little bit. There's also quarterly giveaways on my Patreon for my patrons, for the top 2 tiers, and all my patrons get 48-hour early access to my podcasts. The giveaways, I've paused shipping anything out until I can actually get to a post office. Both the post offices that are the most local to me are in little shops, where it's quite hard to social distance, and also there's no essential need for me to go there, apart from posting giveaway parcels, and I don't really think that counts. So when I do have the opportunity to go to a post office, I will be posting out giveaway parcels. So my Podiversary winner, you have been told who you are. Thank you for sending me your address. It's there. And as soon as I can get to a post office, I will. So the quarterly giveaways, which one is due, will not be posted until I can get to a post office, or they might be pattern prizes or whatever for the foreseeable, because we're in this for the long haul, UK folks. Anyway, the other way you can support the podcast is via Ko-fi. So if you just wanted to buy me a cup of tea, because I don't drink coffee, or a hot chocolate, I'm missing Costa. It's not a big deal, but Costa hot chocolate with hazelnut syrup. I'm missing that. Anyway, if you wanted to buy me a Ko-fi, the link is down there. All the links and information about where to find me and where the show notes are will be linked down below. I am moving my show notes to my Ravelry group because then I can more easily link to my Ravelry project pages and yarn and patterns and all that jazz. I'm going to ask you to excuse the hair. It is growing out, so the front actually doesn't look too bad. I did a box dye on it to kind of cover the roots. I don't have grey hairs, thank God, yet. It's going to happen, but not yet. But I was growing out some highlights and the line was epic. So we just covered it all in one colour. The other things, admin-wise, I need to tell you. Oh, I also mod on the craft bank, which is relatively quiet right now. But if you feel like paying it forward and helping out your fellow crafter, you can offer some patterns. You can offer any yarn, notions, accessories, needles, hooks, all that kind of jazz as a kind of way of paying it forward. I've seen people who have agreed to send someone something for just for the price of the postage. There's pattern offers for certain patterns or for patterns up to a certain value or whatever. I tend to offer one pattern a month for up to £10, just as a kind of, it's a way of paying it forward to those people who can't quite afford it or are less fortunate than you. So that's a really lovely space. So if you do want to go and generally be lovely, go to the craft bank and offer something. What am I wearing? I'm wearing my Stitches Tees Crochet jumper. And what you can't see, if I roll my sleeves up, is this gorgeous thing. And I don't know if you can see it. There we go. This is a cuff from the fabulous Hide and Hammer. And it says Yarnivore on it. I got mine in the green colourway with the gold stud fastenings. There you can see news. Is that upside down? Yes. Oh my God, I don't think I can bend that way. So you're just going to have to look at her logo upside down. There's news logo there. I don't know if they're currently available on her website, but she tends to do them in kind of pre-orders. So go out. I will link to Hide and Hammer in my show notes. Oh, that's a good point. Can I do that in Ravelry? I must be able to. If not, Hide and Hammer. She's awesome. She's also desperately trying to be a business owner, a mother, and wife to a policeman right now. So just go and give her some love on Instagram. If you can't afford anything from her shop, just go and give Nu some love on Instagram, because she's being amazing at like Instagram stories and posts and generally just keeping her stuff ticking over while still trying to be, well, now being a full-time parent. Like she doesn't have her childcare anymore. So it's a very similar story for a lot of small businesses right now, is that particularly if you've got kids, they're at home and you don't have your people that you can rely on in order to carry on your small business. So yeah, it's difficult times. Right. So moving on to our make-along. So I am running currently a garment make-along in my podcast Ravelry group. There is a chatter thread and a finished object thread, and that is the Lesser Spotted Garment Make-Along, or hashtag Lesser Spotted MAL. We've had some really lovely things so far. There's been a few finished objects. This make-along is running until the 1st of September this year, so it is a 6-month make-along, and it is there basically for you to make garments that are, as the title suggests, lesser spotted. So nothing in the top 20 of the Ravelry Hot right now. Anything crocheted goes. Anything that's a bit of a less used construction, so sideways construction or seamed. So someone's got the V-neck magpie on that because that's quite an interesting knitted garment. So there's all sorts of different ones. There's some people making up their own patterns, which is really cool. For me, so far this make-along has been a bit of a fail. Not because I haven't tried, not because I haven't been making. I've made a start on 2 garments. So, when I last spoke to you, I think I had I was swatching for the Alara, or had swatched for the Alara, which is now free. Or it was free. I don't know if it still is. But I wouldn't recommend the pattern at all. My row gauge is always off anyway, because I knit, my height is always too short. That's fine. I can mitigate that. The pattern itself is really badly written. And I'm an experienced crocheter. Like, I could kind of work it out, but I crochet for fun. I crochet for enjoyment and for relaxation and for generally that feel-good thing that you get from making something for yourself. I don't want to spend all my time trying to work out what the designer actually meant as opposed to what's written down. So, I would, by all means, it's a lovely pattern. Go and have a look at it. Or rather, it's a lovely top. It's a lovely top, go and have a look at it. But I just didn't want to go through it. Which means I've got all that beautiful Nightshades yarn, which I now don't have. I'm not using. So I decided to use it in a different one. The Cosgrove Crop, which is a actually very well written pattern by Louisa Sherwood, who is also known as the Fibre Lounge on Instagram. It's a very well written pattern. The reason why I am no longer doing that and have frogged it is because I'm very type A, I've discovered, and I'll pop a photo somewhere. And I showed on my vlogs, for those of you who've been watching who watched my social distancing vlogs. I popped it on once I separated for the sleeves, and it fits well, and it will fit even better if with blocking. But because of the nature of crochet and the fact that stitch is lean, and this is something I immediately spotted as soon as I split for the sleeves, is that so because you're increasing on the yoke before you split for the sleeves, those gaps in the when you turn the corner basically on the raglan increases were not lying like that diagonally towards your armpits basically, which is where raglan increases on commercial garments will sit, right? These didn't. These kind of went like that, and that's because of the crochet lean, right? I should have seen it coming. Again, I'm an experienced crocheter, so I'm not gonna, I don't know why I'm leaving my hands like this. I'm not gonna beat myself up a little too much about this, because even though I could have seen it coming, anyway. And it was on the pattern photos. If you look at the pattern photos and if you look at the project photos, you can see that the increases are not symmetrical. But I like a bit of symmetry. And I couldn't get past it. It would be a lovely top, and I know a few people who are making it. It's a very well written pattern. It's got photos, it's very clear. You can tell Louisa is a crochet teacher. But not for me in the end. And I am definitely one of those people that if something's not making you happy, frog the damn thing. I will not keep plugging away with something that I'm not happy with. As seen with all the amount of things in my frog category in my projects. For the most part, I don't frog them because I frog them because it's just not for me. And however much I could be like, oh, well, I paid for the pattern and then I need to make it. There's a phrase in this house that doesn't get used that much, but it's only money. And if I can support a pattern designer, even if I don't make it, even if it's not for me, I've still wanted to support that designer by buying their pattern. So, meh. So, that being said, I have no entries right now that are in progress for the Lesser Spotted Make-Along. There will be one, and I'm going to start it today. But I'll tell you about that later. On to finished objects, and I have a few because I haven't podcasted in a while. Yeah, it's been over a month. It's been a while. 6 weeks. I last podcast in February? Did I last podcast in February? It must have been because it was podiversary. Maybe the 1st of March. Maybe it was around the first week, end of February, beginning of March. Let's cut me some slack. So there's been a lot of finished objects. Not that many, but enough that I'm happy. I've been slogging away on a few big projects. So yesterday I'd made something in a night, just so I could have a finished object and have that quick win. I'll tell you about that one when we get to it. So first things first is, let's talk about the thing that's on the top. These are my dad's socks. I finally finished them. So these are just plain stockinette, quite long leg, cuff down, heel flapping gusset. I did an Eye of Partridge heel, if you can see that. And my father has size 12 feet, so these are my blockers, and this is the overlap. Wait a minute. There we go. So I did 2x2 rib, lots and lots of stockinette all the way down, heel flapping gusset, and then a normal wedge toe, because that's technically really the only toe I know. I need to up my toe game. Pretty standard. They're DK weight. They're made in Regia 6-ply, so it's kind of a heavy sport light DK on 3.25 millimeter needles. I did these all on DPNs, which means that's my DPN square on my Wet Coast Walls Bingo board done. I tend to do my socks in DPNs, although I won't show it in whips, but my next pair of socks, which I'm currently working on, is, apart from the ones I'll show you in whips, is on a asymmetric short circular, which I haven't tried before. They are my coronavirus. They're my quarantine shopping project. So I have a little Japanese knot bag by So Beautiful by Nicola, and that is living in my car right now. So every time that I go and do the shop and stand in the queue, the inevitable queue to get into Sainsbury's, I am leaning on my trolley, knitting away on my socks. Now, literally there's like 4 rounds of the cuff of this sock so far, but that is, I thought it'd be easier to take a short circular than DPNs or Magic Loop. So they won't get done very quickly. Those are going to be Hermione's everyday socks, so patterns once I get there. Anyway, right, next FO is a beast. I think you basically saw this almost done the last time, but my Just Feel Better shawl is done, and I love it, and it's the biggest blankety thing ever. This is the definition of schlanket. It's huge, and I can't wait to wear this in the winter, or even as actually like a cover up in the autumn, like late summer, autumn. It's fab. I love it. So the yarns in here are a big cake of Noro Ito, which I got for Christmas. There's Blacky Yarns Tour, which is this dark green. The grey with the blue and green flecks is a worsted weight from Third Volt Yarns in the colourway Cassiopeia. And then at the end, as I was running out of yarn, this pink is Stranded Dye Works Merino Aran in her Tits Out Collective colourway. And then the blue here and on the edge is Truly Hooked Merino Aran, which is called the deeper shade of blue, I think. And those are all the colours that I put in it. And it's awesome. So the Just Feel Better shawl is a pattern by the lovely Kalisha, who hosts the Quirky Monday podcast. It's a granny shawl, and it's free, I think. Yeah, it's free. The next one of hers I want to do is the Just Feel Festive shawl, which is a long wrap, which I am planning to do with my Advent minis from this year. I have ordered another Vicky Brown Designs DK Advent for this year. I've also ordered an Advent from Laura, who is the Lonely Knitter, for her Crafters Balm Advent calendar, which is very exciting. Look at me, it's the end of April and I'm talking about Christmas. Sorry. Let's move on. So there's 2 more FOs that I don't have to show you, so I'll put a picture. First up here is some face scrubbies that I made for a friend. So a friend of mine turned 40 this year, and we as a group of friends decided we were going to take on the role of the birthday fairy and leave her a basically parcel of goodies on her doorstep to open on her birthdays. I was in charge of making, and then we also got some chocolate and some cheese and some smellies, and I made her some little face scrubbies, and I also made her a washcloth, which I didn't actually put on my project page because it was just a washcloth. What else? Oh, we all did silly photos of ourselves holding up the number 40 to put in a card, handmade card for her as well. So really nice. Oh, and my other friend made her some cookies as well, gluten-free because her husband's gluten-free. So yes, that was really nice. So those face scrubbies went in there, and that was using scrap cotton. So I have behind my scraps, so this is a scraps jar, and behind that is a jar full of cotton of varying weight. I don't tend to use a lot of cotton, so when I have something like a washcloth or something else that I wanted to make, then that gets pulled out. But honestly, I don't use a lot of cotton, so it's mostly scraps left over from things like little box of crochet makes that I didn't make, and stuff like that. I actually had a bit of a wobble yesterday, really weirdly, because I got out some cotton to do something and then decided not to use cotton for it, which I'll show you as my last FO. And then I realised that ball had been wound by Jenny, who passed away 3 years ago. Yeah, that ball would have been wound by Jenny, or at least is very likely to have been wound by Jenny from Little Box of Crochet. So that stopped me in my tracks a little bit. Yeah, so much has happened since Jenny has passed away, yet it feels like no time has passed. So anyway, so yes, my little stash of crochet cotton comes out, or mercerised cotton comes out every so often when we have something like this. So yeah, it was nice to make those scrubbies and help my friends celebrate from a distance. And we're planning on going and getting very drunk when this is all over. The other FI that I don't have, because she's currently got it downstairs, is my little girl's main birthday present, and I made her a unicorn. So the unicorn pattern is by the lovely Rebecca, who is the Pigeon's Nest. She doesn't have patterns on Ravelry, she only sells on Etsy. She also makes these to sell around her two boys. I think I've mentioned Rebecca before. She is... that's the pattern that I used. Although I made mine far more pink and purple. I will do a side-by-side for you of the hat that I made Amelia. That is a unicorn hat earlier in the school year. So was it before Christmas? I can't even remember. And then I used the rest of that yarn and some of the acrylic that did the hair to make the unicorn toy that matched the unicorn horn hat. So now she has a hat and she has a unicorn that match. He is aptly named Unicorn, and she has not put that thing down for 2 weeks. And it makes my little heart sing. Like, she loves the hats I make her, but she never asks me for anything. Like, she never says, "Mummy, can you make me a jumper?" Even though she sees me making stuff, she's like, yeah, whatever. The scarf that I made her for school, it isn't used for school, obviously, at the moment. And it's now the reins for her rocking horse. Beautiful. Who was the dyer? Hey J Yarn, Merino Aaron, and it's literally being pulled, and it's just, the thing is going to be pilled. So pilled and felted beyond belief. I was kind of hoping that when she grew out of that scarf, I'd get that yarn back for something else. It's not going to happen, is it? So yes, that's my fourth FO. My fifth and last FO I made yesterday in an evening while on a Zoom call. So I was, for the first time, I joined the Project Bag Knit Night last night. So she is the manager of... Oh, and this, do you know what? I need to get a new hoop for this because this is not staying put. She is the manager of the Yarn Dispensary in Faversham in Kent. And they normally have their knit night on a Wednesday, and she's just carried that... I'm not liking this. She's just carried that on into Zoom while we've been on lockdown. And I joined for the first time yesterday because Gemma was going to be... She didn't in the end. She was going to be doing a cast-on party. Her Crack Those Whips, Cal, I think that's what it's called. It starts on the 1st of May. She's brought it up earlier. It's being co-hosted by the lovely Alice, who's Dr. Sockstagram. Go and listen to her podcast. She's blooming awesome. Actually, go and watch Gemma's podcast as well. She's the Project Bag on YouTube. But yes, it was really nice to meet people that I'd not met before. I'm originally from Kent, which is where Faversham is. So I'm originally from Maidstone. So a lot of those people like live either in Maidstone or just outside, or in one of the other towns in Kent, it was really nice. Like, we were talking about Leeds Castle, where my mum works, and it was just nice to talk to people who knew the area that I was brought up in. And there's some hilarious characters in that group. So that was really nice to be part of a slightly new group. I've been hosting Zoom meetings myself, not for the last 2 weeks, which I'll talk a little bit more about in life. But yes, I decided that I needed a quick win because I've been slogging away on a few of my whips, which are slightly feeling never ending. And I decided that I was going to make a rainbow. So the pattern for this rainbow, it is the Boho Crochet Rainbow by the fabulous Sharon, who is, let's get that out of the way, who is the Stitch Foundry, newly named. She was my Crochet Makes, but she's the Stitch Foundry on Instagram. And this is a fabulous, it's like a sampler. Every row is a different stitch. And then you've got this little sun that you can add, and you can add tassels, or you can add clouds, or whatever you want to do, really. So I don't know why I haven't made a rainbow so far, but I haven't. But I decided when Sharon brought hers out that I needed to add this to my list. And I was going to make it out of cotton, but I actually don't have any rainbow colours apart from green in my cotton stash. So I basically just went with scraps. So the two back kind of big pasta jars at the back of those glass jars are full of small balls of DK acrylic, and then random yarn that doesn't really go anywhere. So it's either like chunky weight, or it's got mohair in it, or it's a slightly weird texture, or all that kind of stuff. And I got a rainbow out of it. So we've got acrylic. This is the very last bits of my Blacker Yarns tour from my Just Feel Better shawl. This is the leftovers from a blanket and a shawl I made for my friend Holly on the birth of her baby. This is Shepier's Soft Fun Aquarelle. This is DK acrylic. This yellow is Fibre Spates Fairy Wings, which is a mohair sport weight yarn. It's not all mohair. There might be some nylon in it. I'm not really sure what the composition is. There's definitely mohair in this, which I used to make one of the Crochet Project MCALs last year, which I've then given away because the mohair in this did not sit well with my skin on my neck. And then the other two are acrylic. So, and then I made tassels out of all of it, and then the fairy wings made the sun as well. I have put it onto a really cheap plastic, the bag's awful, I need to put some felt on it. Really cheap hook. This fabric that it's backed onto, if I show you behind the tassels, it's actually some, I got like some fabric sample books for curtain fabric, I think, off Freegal years ago. And it was just big enough to go in the soup. So let's because the tassels are going to annoy me that they're not sitting straight. So I joined the call at 8 o'clock last night, and we were done by 11:15, and it was done by 11:15. The epitome of quick win. And I did leave and go back to watch the Great British Sewing Bee. Week 2. It was good. So, yes. Very happy with that. It's a lovely pattern. It is free on Sharon's blog, which you can access via Ravelry. She has got a Ravelry page, so I've done a quick project page for it. It literally took 2 grams, I think, of each colour. And obviously you can make it in all sorts of weights. I used, it's mostly DK, but this is, no, the Fibre Space is sport weight. The orange was definitely Aran weight. And I think the purple was Aran weight as well. And also, actually, the Tor I think it's a woolen spun, so it's slightly more aerated and slightly more bouncy as a yarn. So complete scrap buster, stash buster, but I got a decent rainbow out of it. So this will get hung up in a window. We haven't actually done rainbows yet, but it will for us now. So that's good. And I have got a little hangy on there. So yes. Right. So that's my finished objects. Whips. So, the things I have been spending the most time doing. Let's talk about this blanket. So I have finally started using my DK minis from the last 2 years of advent calendars. And this is what I have so far. Oh, I love it on camera. I'm seeing it through the holes in the blanket and I'm loving it. So, this is just a V-stitch blanket. I am not following a pattern. I did a foundation row of trebles, UK trebles, US double crochets, and then I put V-stitches into it. So let me give you a bit of a close-up of... Oh, my hair is everywhere, molting. So yes, it is normal V-stitch, and at the end you have a... can I just point out the corner of Craft Ladybird, which I love. So you have two UK trebles at the start and end of each row, and then you just V-stitch, which is a treble, chain, treble. Yeah, it's fab. And it's not a granny square, it's not a granny stripe, so I'm not on that bandwagon. But it is a scrappy blanket. So this is my wingspan, so it's less than 2 meters wide. So I would say it's going to fit really nicely over a single bed, which is the plan. It's going on that bed there. My craft room is one of our spare rooms. Our rule in our house is, yes, one of the bedroom, a bedroom can have another use, but it still has to be a bedroom and still has to have a bed in it. So even my husband's office has a sofa bed in it, because yes, we still want to be able to offer people beds and stuff like that when they come to visit. So yes, that is my blanket. It started off with all the kind of slightly random colours, and it will end on the slightly random colours as well. So I kind of split them up as the beginning and ending. And I have got one magic ball. So I am doing my magic knot balls. One of the best tutorials I've found is inside number 22. Damn it. I'll link to the video below, but she did it as part of her Vlogmas, not this year, but the last year. And she did a really good tutorial on how to do a magic knot ball. So that's my magic knot ball. I also have this giant bag, which I made with lovely Christmas fabric on it, full of yarn. So that I've split everything into. So these are my greens and greens going to oranges, and then I've got my purples going to rainbow. So yes, I am doing that all on a 4.5mm Clover Armour hook. Armour. I never know. Armour? I think so. But yes, I cannot remember what the pattern is. Oh, and I've got some random balls. That's weird. That needs to be in the yellow bag. So yes, I've got 2 bags still to go, which will end up being magic knot balls. Probably 4 magic knot balls between the 2 bags, to be honest. I have my Tools of Mass Creation pin, which isn't on there. There we go. And then I also have my Crochet Clan badge. And this is a yellow pom-pom from, I think, Girl Guiding. Yeah, it's Brownies, which is a blast from the past, really, isn't it? So yes, that is my advent blanket, and I've been loving doing that when I just need a bit of calm crochet, basically. So yes, that should be a decent bed size by the time I'm finished with it. But I kind of want to get it done before Advent, which is not that's quite a long lead in for me, so good. Right, my other blanket is my Square a Day blanket, which is living in my Busy Pottering bag that I won from the beautiful Sharon of SCR1TNO. It's her cowl that I'm taking part in to do this blanket, so the SCR1 TNO square a day cal, and I am writing up the pattern for this right now. I'm also planning, while I've got my studio lights out today, to film the tutorial if I can. If not, it'll be tomorrow. But yes, what I will do is I will film a tutorial that gives you the kind of general formula, but then I will also release the pattern for a small amount. My patrons will get it for free, but I also will need to get it tested and slightly tech edited. Well, not slightly, I will need to get it tech edited, so I've got someone in mind for tech editing, but I'll see how busy she is. This is a Tunisian crochet mitered square blanket, so it looks like the knitted version, but it's not, it's crochet. You can do this on a short hook, so the hook I am using is just one of these, like one of those random metal hooks. I'm using a 4mm for 4-ply yarn, which gives me quite a dense structure because you always size up your yarn for your hook for Tunisian crochet, but I wanted a dense, slightly smaller blanket, because this thing is going to be huge anyway. So this is like halfway through the year and it's already lap sized. Not halfway. We're 4 months? Yeah, we're at the end of 4 months into the year, so we're a third of the way through the year. So this is going to be a nice size. So, things I need to point out. I've got my corner of craft snowflake to denote the middle. It is radiating out from the middle. So that will be in the... So I'm going to film two tutorials. One that kind of gives you the generic kind of thing, which will just go on my YouTube channel. And then there'll be a tutorial for how you do the radiating out from the centre, which will just be a link from the actual pattern PDF. And then to show you, so there are two sides that are just random. So top is just random, although I am doing things, if I'm getting sets, so these three are a set from Game of Crafting. I'm trying to keep sets together. And then the other side, I've got my, not including that one, these 5 are the It's a Stitch Up, Trans People Are Real People, mini skein set from Operation Social Justice, which Game of Crafting ran and loads of people got involved with. This row seems to be my It's a Stitch Up row because this is also from Susie and these two are also from Susie. This one is just a random one, but yes, I love Susie's colours. I think they're awesome. And then either of the sides are my monthly clubs. So I'm getting 2 mini skein clubs every month, one from Irish Artisan Yarns and one from Giddy Yarns. Yes, Giddy Yarns, who Tara from Irish Artisan Yarns has just started a podcast, so go and have a look at her episode 1. And Helen from Giddy Yarns is doing weekly podcasts at the moment with some vlogging. This side is my Irish Artisan Yarns side, so apart from that one, these are the last 3 months, so up to March. Beautiful. I'm loving the top. These, wait a minute, 1, 2, these 5 at the top of Giant's Causeway, and they're just blinking awesome. Love it. Because it was like a sunset over Giant's Causeway. And then the other side, there's some ends left in. The other side is my Giddy Yarns. Oh God, here we go. Right, I'll just show you the top row for now, which is the Nostalgia Club. So this is taking us up to 1900 to 1929, these 15 colours. So not these two, but yeah, these are, yeah. And now I'm hoping that I'm going to be podcasting a bit more regularly at the moment. So I'm looking at these and going, why is that? No, we're all right. I'm going to, hopefully, what I'll do is each time I add a new square, now that you've seen this one, it like this, each time I add a new square, I'm going to do what Sharon does and put a stitch marker in each of the ones that I've done since the last podcast. This is, I think I'm like a day ahead at the moment. I need to add a few more squares because by the end of the year, I need to have an extra 30 squares in order to make it symmetrical and also more than 366 squares, because if it's a square a day I need to have at least 366, and in order for it to be a rectangle and also have the centre point in the centre, I need to have 18 squares wide and 22 squares long. That's the theory. Yeah, so that means it's 396 squares, so I need to have 30 extra squares by the end of the year, and I don't particularly want to be doing those 30 all on New Year's Eve because bleh, I could take it into the new year, but I quite like starting afresh on New Year's Day, and I want to do a temperature blanket again for next year. I'm not quite sure how. I'm busy collecting patterns as to how to do that. So yes, I love it. It's eclectic and hilarious, and it's fab. Other thing I've been spending a lot of my time on, and I'm in the middle of a row, and it's a lace row, so it's not going to take me it's going to take me a long time. Yeah, I'm just going to show you in the middle of a row, because I'm that kind of person. It's on short needles as well, a short cable. Right, this is, oh, I love it. This is the Colourful Keepsake shawl by Tina Say, who is Tina Say Knits on Instagram. She is doing this as a free pattern, as a mystery knit along. So she had 3 clues, which she released over 3 weeks, and she's doing it over a month. So today is the last day of the cowl, so she'll be doing the reveal tomorrow. No, this evening, US time. And I'm nowhere near finishing. I think I'm still about 50 rows away from the end of clue 2, but that's fine. This was never I want to finish it, and yeah. But so let's show you the end. So I'm using 3 colours from my stash. One of them is very deep stash. So I have this orangey colour is a merino bamboo mix from Vicky Brown, which was part of her sock club called Laverna. Came with a sock pattern which I made and then didn't finish. So I've used the yarn in here. We've then got Studio Donegal Darnie, which I actually got as a promo in my promo bag for being a podcaster for Woolen last year, which obviously is sadly not taking place. And then the pink is a merino single from Stranded Dye Works, which is their Tits Out colourway. So I bought 3 skeins of the Tits Out colourway, three different yarns in that colourway from Amy. So this is the second one that I've used, which is nice. All 4-ply, but different kind of makeups, and I think they are looking amazing. So up to end of clue 1 was up to here, these garter stripes, and then you've got the lace in clue 2, and this texture section is literally my favourite thing in the world. I bloody love it. It looks so effective. Yeah, I really like that. And actually the texture section in the first one, so this section and this section are exactly the same pattern, but they look so different with having the dark colour at the back or the dark colour at the front. So yes, I'm in the middle of the second lace section, which look like these little paw prints. There we go. So that's in the dark colour, and I'm halfway through a row, and I've managed to... How have I managed that it's underneath my cable? So yes, that's that. It's a bit of a slog now that it's at 180 odd stitches. I'm a slow knitter anyway, and on the lace I don't particularly like counting all the time. I know I'm a crocheter and that's what we do, but yeah, I'm not I can read my crochet so that I don't have to count all the time, but I'm not quite there with being able to read my knitting from the row below to see where I am. But it's fine, I'll get there. This has been a definite good learning curve project, and the fact that the sections are quite small, the goldfish brain in me is happy, because then I move on to something else once I'm done with something. So that's quite good. Right, lastly, I showed you on the last podcast a sock snake that I received, and I finished 1 sock from that sock snake, and I'm going to steal the sock blockers from my dad's socks to show you this one. This is Stranded Dye Works. God, I've got a lot of Amy's yarn in this podcast, haven't I? Which is a 72 stitch sock snake that she sold, cranked up. This is her 4244 colourway. I can't actually remember. 4224 colourway, which she dyed up for 2 years ago of SSK. And I have added a yarn from Ribbonits. So I've done a 1x1 twisted rib, and let's get that yarn tail away. So, and I've cut in an afterthought heel, which is based on the Lumineux sock pattern by Isolde, and I think just a wedge toe. Yeah, wedge toe. On there. The yarn is called Ginger Tread House from River Knits, and it was part of a Christmas collab that they did 2 years ago. 2 years ago? Yes. So yes, I've got one of the socks and I've not looked at these for a while actually. So the next sock is ready to go, but nothing has been attached to it yet. I've got enough of the snake left to do 2 more socks, so another pair, but I can't decide whether to do the contrast with this colour. So I will bring it up to the camera so you can have a look. With that colour, and it does match some of these green, these bright green flecks, or I got this sock set, which is from Chromatic Yarns, which is the corner of craft, called Operation Social Justice Insert Class Here. She is a D&D person, but I kind of saw that red and went, what do we think? That red will look really good with it as well. And whether I then use this yarn, well, if I split it so that I just, well, see how much is left of that. I don't know. But part of me is thinking I might just use this for something else and then use this mini for these. But yeah, if anyone's got an opinion on red or green, let me know in the comments below. That is living in, oh, do you know what? I didn't even show you my bag for my colourful keepsake. Is in my Hydrogen Hammer 03 with the neon stitching, and I love it. This thing is awesome because literally it just stays rolled down most of the time. And if I want to carry it around, I put the strap on its loosest setting and literally that's its handle, and it's just a yarn bucket. It's amazing. Anyway, this is living in my So Beautiful My Nicola scrappy bag, which I won, and it's fabulous. And do I need to show you any stitch markers? Probably not. No, there are no stitch markers on that. Oh, the stitch marker I had on my colourful keepsake, I knew there was something I'd missed, is from, now I've closed it up, is from Yarnistry, and it is one of their quarantine ones, and it's bright neon, so I don't actually know if you'll be able to see it, but it is a clear perspex virus. Ridiculous. It was part of their recent beaver and I won a golden beaver, which was very cool. I got one duplicate set, but that's fine. That's gone into a prize package. That actually went into the Podversary giveaway package. Last but by no means least is something that I started today. So I got myself one of Kaz from Wooler's Pandemic spins. So it's a pre-order. So she spun one and put it up on the website, and then she put it as a kind of pre-order. So I ordered it and then she spun it out for me. So this is her card. The colourway is Hankering for the Sea. It's Pandemic Spin 4. It is totally hand spun merino and lurex, and it's 100 metres for, and you're not going to see it, it's basically a fade. So I've balled it up, but what I will do is put a picture of the original hank of yarn so you can see all the colours, because I wound this up and started it this morning because I got this and went, I want to make something from this because I love it. Literally, that was what I said. So currently it's going to be a hat. So this is going to be a cotton candy slouch, which is a pattern by Hannah from the Cozy Cottage Crochet, Hannah Siegmund. I am one of her patrons and she's awesome. And it is a chunky weight hat. So I have done the brim, but you can see it starts off light blue and then it's going to get darker and then more purple and pink. And I love it. So on here I have got a stitch marker. I've got 2 stitch markers. One is Galaxy Donut, which was Laura from The Lonely Knitter, or Crafter's Balm. It was one of her Operation Social Justice contributions. And then I've also got a Die Candy stitch marker holding my loop so that it doesn't unravel. If anyone didn't know this, I've seen a couple of podcasters have this revelation. If you don't want your crochet to unravel in your bag, just put a progress keeper through the loop and it will stop unraveling. You don't have to drop a huge loop, just put something through your loop and it'll stop it unraveling. Preferably something that's bigger than the hole that, yeah. Tip of the day. I only say that, I kind of assumed that people would know that, but if you didn't know that there you go, there's the tip. This is living in another Hide and Hammer bag, which is fully leather and it's so squishy. I love it. I absolutely love this thing. And it smells amazing. Right, that's my work in progress. It is the beginning of a new month, and it's also my birthday month. May, I like to start a few different projects to kind of get me excited for the month that is my birthday. So I've got a few things. Only a few. 6. Yeah. So I thought I'd show you my queue. First things first. The sweaters. I totally blame Noof, who's Hide and Hammer, for this. So, living in my newest bag, which I won from Dr. Sockstram Alice for her giveaway, not giveaway, her second sock along, is this beautifully handmade bag by her mum, so she doesn't sell, and it's awesome. It's beautiful yellow linen with these appliqued hearts, and it's interfaced, and it's fully lined, and there's pockets, and there's this beautiful love stitch marker, progress keeper, on it. I've also got my one of my alpaca pins on there which says Yarn Addict from Sharon, who is the Stitch Foundry. This is just a random like pin that I found somewhere, and then my I Support Ravelry Nerdbird Makery pin, which I got from Katie Greenbean at Yarndale. And in here is a swatch that is so fluffy. Yeah, ignore that bit, that's the DPN. That's the DPNs. But yes, it is a swatch for a light and airy sweater, and the love could give you a hint, but it is the love note because I'm joining that bandwagon. Yes, I'm going to start the love note by Tin Can Knits, and I'm doing it from quite deep stash. This is deep stash. This is River Knits Splendiferous 4-ply. They now use a different makeup to their Splendiferous, but this is BFL silk and cashmere. I think that's right. It's just which I bought originally to go with some other mohair, and then I realised I don't really like mohair. So this is being put together with some alpaca silk fuzz, which is Bear in Sheep's clothing. It's called Bear Fluff, I think. Wait a minute. Bear Fluff, which is 74% baby Suri alpaca and 26% silk. It is the Siren colourway, and you will have seen how much that beautiful mohair tones down that pink, because that pink is not me, but this is now me. So yes, I'm so looking forward to making this. So I am gonna cast this on tonight probably, ready for 1st of May. And yes, I'm really looking forward to making that. So that is the Love Note by Tin Can Knits. I will pop a photo to show you what the thing looks like. Non-knitters, I can understand if you don't know what the Love Note is, but for those of you who do knit and you don't know what that is, where have you been? Anyway, and the other sweater I'm going to start is a crochet sweater. So this will be my lesser spotted make along. This is living in my Thimble and Thread Make large cube bag. I have a couple of these and I love them. They are perfect for big projects. So I've had a couple of blankets in these. There is a blanket currently in one of them. Oh yes, a blanket that I'm not going to talk to you about because it's in the naughty corner. You haven't seen it since the last podcast, and I don't want to talk about it, but at some point I will. There's fluff. Okay, on here I have got my pins, which is my Hey J Yarn Don't Be a Dick, my Gamer Crafting hook, rainbow glittery hook, which never shows up. There we go. And then also my Crochet Luna pin, metal pin, because this is going to be part of Crochet Luna and Chrissy Glass Knits Acre Sweater Cal. I'm doing the Acre. There's a lot of yarn in here. So the Acre was in the winter terrain issue of Pom Pom, and I saw it and went, I need to make that. So I actually was given the magazine, which was very nice. So yes, but for my size, because it's quite, I don't want to give away the pattern, but it's sideways constructed in pieces, but it's a lot of back loops only, so it uses a lot of yarn, because it's kind of got a rib effect, as it were, but it's also intarsia. So I'll pop a photo to show you what it looks like. It's a colour box sweater basically. So there's 3 colours in there. But for my size, I would have needed 2 skeins for one of the colours, 3 skeins for another one of the colours, and then 4 skeins for another. So that's 7 skeins of fingering weight yarn. And I could do the 2 skeiner in one dye lot, and probably could do the 4 skeiner, but it would be using yarn for something else. And so I didn't want to buy lots of new yarn for this project. So I went stash diving. So what I've done is the first colour is going to be these 3 colours. So this is a merino single from Travel and Wool. The middle one is a merino single from La Bien Aimée, and then this one is Lay Family Yarn, merino nylon, and I'm going to stripe them, single row stripe them. This 2 skein colourway is going to be another stripe of 2 truly hooked colours, which are quite similar. One is called Delirium and one is called, this one's Delirium and this one is, I can't remember. Let me see if I can find the yarn ball. Delirium and Thinking Out Loud. So these are Thinking Out Loud and Delirium, and they've got the same colours, it's just that one's got a white base and one's got a blue base. So these are going to be striped as well. And actually when they're crocheted together, they don't actually look that dissimilar, which is nice. And then the 4 colour, I have 2 skeins. Oh, this is really badly caked. I'll show you in the skein, because there's one skein that hasn't actually been skeined up yet. This is Irish Artisan Yarns, which was a special colourway for the Fibre Lounge called In Dublin's Fair City. So I've got 2 skeins of that, and they are going to be striped with these 2 skeins, which are technically the same colour by the same people, but they are different dye lots. One is very much greener than the other. So I don't quite know how I'm going to stripe these, because I've got 2 skeins of the same colour and then 2 skeins of the same colour but that are different dye lots. I'm not sure. I'll work that out. So those 4 are going to be my 4th colour, my 3rd colour. So yeah, it's going to be a proper scrappy, but I think it will work. And there'll be some colours that will be quite similar in the colour blending, but it's fine. Anyway, yes, so that's the acre sweater. So I've got 2 sweaters that I'd like to make in May. I've also got a couple of smaller projects. So first things first, I'm going to use this amazingness, which is the Trance colourway in Merino Chunky by Truly Hooked. I love her branding right now. The yarn, there we go. So it's a light grey base with lots of neons. This was dyed in memory of her father and is no longer being dyed, this colourway. So I'm going to put this into a graffiti beret, which was in issue 1 to 4 of Inside Crochet. So there's that one, and then also from Inside Crochet 1 to 4. And I've swatched for this, which is awesome. Hence the reason why there's a tail going down. In this yarn, I am going to be making the Omni Shawl. This is Third Vault Yarns DK. It is a slightly larger ball of 115 grams. Caroline DK, I think. It was her World Convention colourway from last year called Irish Sea, Notes Over the Irish Sea, something like that. It was the event was based in Dublin, and that was Lola's yarn for the show. And I'm going to be making the Omni Shawl, which is a pattern by Faye Dashper Hughes, also known as the Crochet Circle podcast. And that is in her bag that I bought from her. This is Provenance Craft Co. I don't think she's making these anymore. They're Harris Tweed with canvas, wax canvas. And I've also got another one of Sharon's alpaca pins on here. And last but by no means least, I am finally making use of this ball. It's really badly caked. This is my leftovers from my Truly Hooked Blanket Club last year, and there is about 85 grams in here. So I'm going to make a Brioche DK bandana cowl, which is by Lavagna Petricella. I think that's how you say it. So yes, these will be faded. So the outside of the brioche will be these colours, and then I've got a grey to be the inside. Which I'm really looking forward to. I've really enjoyed making her bulky brioche cowl that I made for my mum last year for her graduation in November. So yes, I'm really looking forward to starting that one as well. That's my cue. Spotlight. I am going to use this spotlight to spotlight some of the people who have been keeping me sane. Yes, so podcasts that I've been enjoying, and people on YouTube that I've been enjoying, and generally giving me some respite and enjoyment while my brain has not been at the best over the last 6 weeks. So first things first, Sharon from SCR1TNO, we actually had a video call last week, which was really nice to just sit and chat with a friend for a couple of hours, hour and a half. But I've been really enjoying her podcasts. She is slightly off project, not project. So for those of you who don't watch SCR1TNO Knitting Project podcast, Sharon normally has a 6-day rolling rotation of her whips to get them done, basically. And also so she can touch all her projects within a week, and also actually have a hope of getting them done. She slightly changed it up during quarantine, so but she's a really calming watch, and I really enjoy seeing her progress on her projects, and also her little vlogs at the end of her videos, although she's doing some separate vlogs at the moment as well, so that's really nice. So yes, Sharon is on that list. Other people on that list, Ali from Little Drops of Wonderful, you know I talk about Ali a lot. It's really nice watching her daily vlogs, and she's really stepped it up with some of her stuff on her vlogging, so it's been good to see how they're getting on with kind of homeschooling and just generally life and working from home as two working adults with 2 kids, and their walks around their heath, and she's not too far from my mum, so it's just nice seeing some Kent countryside, so that's been really nice to watch as well, and she's managing to keep up with her podcast as well. Hairy Sheep, Emma and Rosie, I've been really enjoying their weekly podcasts. They are literally just sitting there having a conversation, basically, and it's nice to see the banter, or rather Rosie telling her mum off. You know it's true. It's really nice. It's really nice to see, and I really hope that actually Amelia and I have that kind of relationship when she's Rosie's age. So yeah, keep it up, girls. I love it. Who else? Lonely Knitter, Laura's back. She's had a bit of a shit time for the last couple of months, which I think is putting it mildly, but I've been really enjoying seeing how her little business, the Crafters Balm, has been going, and I actually have one to show you. She is selling these, which are little Crafters Balms. That bee is the most cute thing ever, which you can get in natural lemon, lavender, and there's another one, and I can't remember what the other scent is. Natural, I think, smells of Bounty. It's amazing. I love Bounty. So yes, that's been really nice. I've got a couple of her stitch markers, and I've just ordered her advent calendar as well, which I'm really excited about. So yes, it's been nice to see her back, and also she's back on her Patreon as well, so I do support both her and the Hairy Sheep on Patreon. So that's really nice. And then the last one is not a knitting or a crochet podcast, and it's called Vox Talks. It is Sandy Toksvig, who is a British presenter comedian. A lot of people now know her as the now ex co-presenter of the Great British Bake Off with Noel Fielding. She's going to stop doing it from this summer. She's also the presenter of QI, so she took over from Stephen Fry when he left QI, and I really enjoy QI. She is a very funny, very well-learned woman, and for the last 6 weeks she has done a daily podcast, I don't even know what to call it, talking about something in history and making it accessible and funny. And I found it because it came up on my suggested videos of how will Donald Trump be remembered, because she was talking about people who are name the something, so Ivan the Terrible, and will it be Donald the douchebag, and I just honestly, she made me laugh so much. Yes, she made me laugh so much in that one that I just had to go back and watch loads. So as of today, 30th of April, she put today's up, and I watched it, and she said, look, for 6 weeks this has been great, but it's a lot of work, and it's been her coming up with content and her wife doing a lot of the work. And her wife actually has a full-time job, and one of the production people from QI doing like the producing and stuff like that. And it's a lot of work for nothing. And she didn't put it like that, but it is... producing content is a lot of work. It's not just sitting in front of camera and then uploading. Like, you have to do a lot of stuff. And so she's now going to once a week, so every Friday. But what I really like is everything from the ad revenue that they... And obviously, you don't earn a lot from ad revenue on YouTube, but it's okay. I don't at the moment because I don't have enough video views. But when I did, ages ago, planner video days, for those who've stuck by me, it was all right. I made probably about 70 quid a year, but it was still some money. Obviously, she has a much bigger following, so she'll be earning a decent amount, but all of their earnings are going to the Trussell Trust, which is a food bank charity in the UK. So if I'm going to pop the link in the show notes, but if you do go, just watch the adverts. Don't press skip, because that will put money for nothing. You don't have to do anything apart from just watch the damn ad, and that will send money to a UK charity for people who are struggling. So I really like that. But yeah, do go back and watch some of them. There's one about Joan of Arc. There's the one yesterday's was about saving the world in a pencil skirt, and it was about women who were part of big discoveries and big scientific achievements and Nobel Prize winning teams that weren't recognised because they were women. Yeah, Sandy Toksvig. I really rate Sandy Toksvig anyway. She's a knitter. Yes. She's fab, and her coming into... I think I loved her on QI anyway, but her coming into Bake Off when a lot of people really went, what? Why are you bringing her in? It was a big thing, and she handled it with grace and she's one of my favourite presenters. I really like her, and this has just stepped that notch up of love up a bit. So do go and watch the Vox Talks as well. Life. I've been talking a long time. We're all right. As I said, I was doing daily vlogs, and then I stopped because I've not been handling lockdown very well. Everyone knows I'm an extrovert. Quite a lot of podcasters are actually introverts, but I am an extrovert. Quite massively an extrovert. Like, we've done those test things that tell you, like, the IM... are they IMTP? I can't even remember. Those tests that you do that tell you how far you're in the extrovert scale, and then the thinking and the judging, and that one. Myers-Briggs, that's what it's called. Myers-Briggs. And literally, on a scale, if you take introvert on one side and extrovert on the other, and that's 0, I'm like here on extrovert. Like, this is hard. Not seeing people, even video calls, don't really cut it. So I've been finding it really difficult, and it's nowhere near other people's difficulties. That, like, I'm fine in the grand scheme of things, but for someone who has depression, then that turns into the little voice in your head going, yeah, but you're really shit, aren't you? And I can smile about it and laugh about it, but actually when my brain does that, it's not a very funny place to be. So vlogs kind of became just another thing that I had to do, and that my brain was telling me that I wasn't very good at. So I stopped. I took that out of the equation. I have not been doing very well with homeschooling my child. She's 4, so she's not compulsory, but school are still sending us stuff, and that's very nice of them to do that. Her preschool teacher has been working incredibly hard. So we've got things to do, but it's quite hard asking a 4-year-old to do something that they're not interested in when all they really want to do is watch their tablet. My lovely husband has taken a couple of days off work to allow me to do things like this, but I'm going to try and do them at the weekend as well, and that's been really helpful. The one thing I am ever so grateful about in this is having a partner that gets it. And if he doesn't, and I said this in the vlogs, if he doesn't get it straight away, he will work out why he's not getting it. So I'm really grateful for having a husband that actually recognises that this is hard for me. He's a massive introvert, and I'm convinced that Amelia is too. So while this is hard for him in other ways, the whole not seeing people thing is fine for him. But yeah, so I'm missing seeing people in person, going to groups, having that the external noise. It's weird. There's a lot of people that are like, but how can you work in a how can you manage in a like really noisy environment? I just can. That's how I'm wired. It's why I love going to like yarn festivals. It's why I love going to parties. It's why actually I'll probably be the last person on a night out in the pub, because even if I'm not like, it's having the people around me. That's how I get my energy, and I like to talk about it when I get home as well, which Chris hates. I just want to talk, and it's really nice. And then sometimes after big events and going out and things like that, I will just sit and be quiet, and that's fine. And that's when crochet and knitting help. But for me, this hobby of mine, I'm in it for the social stuff, which was strange as to why me organising the meetups actually got overwhelming, and that's why I stopped, guys. So I will try and get them back up again and maybe do them once a week, but they kind of... A friend of mine on Facebook actually put it quite well, is that video calls are great for keeping in touch and for seeing people and for allowing your brain to think that you're with people, but there is that disconnect, and there's that disconnect in two ways. One is that actually for a lot of people the audio and the visual are slightly lagged, so either one or the other is behind the other, say. So your brain is actually working on two things. It's processing the audio, but it's also processing the visual, because those two things aren't working at the same time. Obviously when you're talking to someone in real time, that doesn't happen. You're just concentrating on one thing. So that's your brain is doing twice the work that it thinks it should be doing in one time. Does that make sense? But also your eyes are going all sorts of, like video calls, Zoom, which is what I use, you've got a grid of people, so your eyes are constantly going all over the place, and that's quite tiring as well. But the other thing is that you're tricking your brain into thinking that people are there, and they're not. So while it's been really nice to meet and see people from all over the globe, what I'm really missing is my friends that are local. And we've had a couple of mummy wine nights, and that's been really nice. That's been really calm and nice. And we just moaned about the kids mostly, but it's been really good. And we've FaceTimed my mum, and I've seen my dad and my little sister and my little brother more times in the last 6 weeks than I have in probably the last 2 years. And that's been lovely as well, actually, although I've shouted at my dad far more times than I care to. And we've done that with Chris's mum as well, so... But I'm missing them. Like, my mum and my mother-in-law are literally... They're part of my lifeline. The fact that they have such a good relationship with my kid, and she's missing them as well. We were supposed to be on a weekend away this week. First time away without Amelia overnight. My mother-in-law was going to come down. Yeah, all these things. So I've been finding it really difficult, hence the reason why I stopped the vlogs, because I just needed to take one of the things out of the equation. And that was an easy one that I could control. The things that I can't control is making sure that my kid doesn't spend all her time on her screen, making sure that we're eating healthily, making sure that I'm moving my body. And actually, Gemma, I've talked about her a lot, is doing that. And she's struggling as well as a single mum to a 2-year-old who's just decided to potty train. She's been doing her classes online. We've got a private members group on Facebook. She's doing some streaming through her website, which means that people outside of our geographical area can now access her classes now, which is amazing. So I'll pop a link down below. So that's great. But again, it's not seeing people, it's not going to my classes, it's not going to the gym. I'm doing my lovely personal trainer. Yes, I have a personal trainer. He's called Sean, he's fab. I'm not going to the gym twice a week to see him, but we are doing via FaceTime in my garage. So I am replacing these things, but it's not the same, and my brain knows it's not the same. And I am not one of these people that is wishing away lockdown because it'll make my life easier. Lockdown ends when it's safe for the majority of people. That's the rule. And I think our government is finally getting that. They acted too late. And what's awful now is that a lot of people that don't realise that actually I think a lot of people are scared, and a lot of people don't want to admit that the government got it wrong, because then that makes their government fallible, and it makes, for a lot of people who voted for this government, it makes them wrong in their decision to vote for them. So a lot of people are kind of being... And you know what? That's how a lot of people deal with in times of crisis, is they look to a higher power and they look to the people in power to make things better. And I think a lot of people are feeling scared at the moment and don't want to engage with the fact that actually things have gone very wrong in the UK. It does look like our death toll is going to be one of the highest in Europe, which is so scary. And my family's been affected by it. We've lost my mum's aunt, my great aunt in the US. Actually, we lost my great aunt, who was in a care home in the US to COVID. We also had a death in Chris's family as well. We're not sure whether it's linked. We don't think it is, but we've had to deal with two deaths in the family, and that's not fun. So it's been hard, but we're carrying on. We're soldiering on. We're going and doing our weekly shop. We're washing our hands and not touching our face. So anyway, I hope that you are all looking after yourselves and staying safe and staying indoors as much as you possibly can, using your own outdoor space in your gardens if you have them, and just generally stopping the spread and flattening the curve. And with that, I'm gonna go away and I will see you on the next one. Bye.